Here is how a simple act of kindness led to a brutal murder because of an ordinary Nokia Touchlight phone. On the 16th of June 2024, a young 29-year-old promising young man, Phillips, in Agbo Delta State, was brutally murdered just because he allowed his neighbor to come charge her phone in his house. Here is how it all happened. So on a fateful day, Joe, in his father's house, decided to turn on the generator in the evening. A neighbor came knocking on his door and pleaded with Joe to help her charge her small Nokia phone, which he agreed and let her in to plug the phone. And after she did that, she left. On this very night, Joe's dad was not around because he was on duty as a local vigilante in the community. Joe is actually married with a pregnant wife. Joe was actually living with his own family in his father's compound, which was why he had access to his father's house. After the neighbor plugged in her phone and left that same evening, Joe fell asleep. She was supposed to come pick up her phone the next day. Unfortunately, when Joe woke up around 5 a.m. in the morning, he discovered that someone had just broken into the house and made away with his phone and his neighbor's phone. He had to call his father, who was on duty, to tell him about the whole situation. His father, who was on duty at that particular hour, had to come back after daybreak just to meet the neighbor whose phone was stolen, yelling and shouting at Joe. She rained insults on him and even accused him of stealing her phone. Demanded he returns the phone as she believed that Joe actually stole her phone and made up all the stories just to cover his act, that he should be held accountable. Well, Joe kept pleading with this lady, kept explaining to her that someone broke into the house and stole the phone. She was very angry and furious and even created a big scene, making sure that everybody in the neighborhood knew that Joe stole her phone. People were pleading with her to calm down, but she refused. She kept accusing this guy, who out of kindness allowed her to come charge her phone in his house. The situation was very embarrassing to Joe that he even offered to get her a new phone. But to everyone's surprise, the woman persisted that Joe must get her that exact phone and her SIM card because she needed the contact in that particular phone, and that she is not going to accept a new phone. She went as far as to threaten Joe that if she doesn't get her phone, she is going to deal with him mercilessly. After this incident, this lady went on to report to one of her boyfriend, whom was also a vigilante just like Joe's dad, but not just in the same unit as him. On the Sunday, Joe went to the church. On getting back home, to his greatest surprise, he saw a group of vigilante men in his compound waiting for him. He, alongside his father, was abducted and taken to the Anioma security watch. Mr. Phillips, Joe's dad, tried to reason with these men, explaining to them that he is also a vigilante just as them, but they didn't care to listen. They collected his ID and seized his phone, took him alongside his son and beat them both together, then proceeded to the vigilante cell and dealt with them mercilessly, asking them where the woman's touchlight phone was. Joe and his dad stick to the original story that someone broke into the house and stole these phones, but the vigilante men refused to take that as an answer. Clearly, the leader of this vigilante wanted to impress this woman so much that they continued to beat Joe and his father, to the point that Joe couldn't take it anymore and went unconscious. When they realized he wasn't responsive anymore, that was when they fled the scene, leaving Joe to his father. Before his father could get any help, Joe gave up and died. And here is the part of the story that will shock you. After Joe was beaten to death, the woman who accused Joe of stealing her phone took to her heels after she realized that the phone she has been looking for was actually taken by her son. The son said that he went to collect the phone, but Joe was asleep when he got there, so he decided to take the phone and not disturb Joe's sleep. And this was how an innocent young man was brutally murdered leaving behind his wife and family just because of Nokia